autumn, Ashwin March. Arrangements for Mini's wedding are in full swing. With Ma Durga returning to Kailash, the light of our home is also to depart to her husband's house and leave her baped body in the shadows. I remember the day when the Kabuliwala and Mini had first met, and I felt sad. That morning is still crystal clear amongst all my memories. So, one morning when I was in the middle of the 17th chapter of my new novel, Hamar Chotto Mini stole into the room and putting her hands into mine said, "Baba, Ramdev the doorkeeper, a kaak ke bole kawa." He doesn't know anything, does he? Our chotto 5-year-old daughter Mini cannot live without chattering. In fact, I believe that in her entire life, she has not wasted a moment in silence. Her mother would often be vexed at this and would try to stop her prattle, but I would not. To see Mini quiet is very unnatural. My own conversation with her is always lively. So, while I sat there trying to explain to her the differences of languages in this world, she had already embarked on the high tide of another topic. Baba, tomar ki mone hoy? Bhola bole, there is an elephant in the clouds blowing water out of the trunk, and that is why it rains. And then suddenly she darted anew while I sat making ready some response to this last saying. She asked, "Baba, what relation is Ma to you?" "My dear little sister in the law," I murmured to myself. But I looked at her and I smiled and said, "Mini, ebar tumi jaoge bholar sathe khela koroge. I am busy." The window of my room overlooked the narrow street below. Mini had seated herself at my feet near my table and was playing. I was in the middle of the 17th chapter where Pratap Singh, the hero of my new novel, had just caught Kanchanlata, the heroine, in his arms, and both were about to jump from the 3rd story window of the castle when suddenly Mini got up and darted towards the window and shouted, "Oh, Kabuliwala, Kabuliwala!" In the narrow street below, a Kabuliwala was passing by. He wore the loose, soiled clothing with a turban, and there was a bag on his back, like any other Kabuliwala. I don't know what my daughter was thinking when she started calling him loudly. Bas, hoye gelo, I told myself. Here he comes, and here my pen goes back into the cover. At which exact moment the Kabuliwala turned and looked up at me. So precarious was the position of my hero and heroine that my first impulse was to buy something, because Kabuliwala had anyway been called. So I called him and I made a few small purchases. এখানে নয়, ভেতরে রেখে দাও। হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, কি হলো? আচ্ছা না, হ্যাঁ এসো এসো। কি বলছিলাম জানো? হ্যাঁ, তো I called him and I made a few small purchases. And at that point, a conversation began with Abdul Rahman. And I thinking that, nah, Mini must get rid of her false fear, had her immediately brought out. She came and stood right next to me and kept looking at the Kabuliwala and his bag. The Kabuliwala offered her raisins, he offered her nuts, kintu amar chotto Mini would not budge. She clung all the more closer to me, with all her doubts increased. This was their first meeting. এই ভোলা, এই মিষ্টিগুলো আসলো দেখলি? একটু দেখ না রে বাবা। একদিন সকালে, a few days later, as I was walking out of the house, I saw Mini's mom scolding her. আমি তো দেখে অবাক, Mini sitting on a bench near our front gate with the great Kabuliwala at her feet. Mini's ma was looking at me, immediately complained. And I, being the father of the unfortunate girl, saved her from impending disaster. But I proceeded to make my own inquiries. It is not the first or second time that the two had met, it seemed. In fact, the two were now great friends. Ki bolun to? For me, Mini's talk with a grown-up man had something in it, something strangely fascinating. Mini's ma obosho did not look at it that way and continuously implored me, "Hey, দেখো, ওই লোকটার থেকে সাবধান কিন্তু." Mini's ma was, still is, very timid. A noise in the street or people coming towards the house made her conclude that they are either thieves or drunkards, snakes or tigers, caterpillars or cockroaches, or probably some English sailor. If I don't go now, মহাভারত অশুদ্ধ হয়ে যাবে। আমি আসি। এই ভোলা একটু জল খাওয়া তো, গলাটা শুকিয়ে গেল।